My next point is a small one. And I was quite touched recently when my younger daughter, I came into my office and she'd written, as you can see on screen here, she knows about customer thermometer, of course she does. She's an advocate, like so many people. But she'd actually put on the whiteboard, she'd drawn the little icons, how are you today? And I was quite shocked at that. And I thought about it and I realised that one of our goals is about keeping it simple. And I think we'd probably achieved that because a 7-year-old had picked up on it and was able to effectively recreate it on a whiteboard. Now this is also a serious message. Keep it like child's play. Short and simple point, this one. But customers do not like complexity. Okay? Customers love simplicity. They love to have their lives made easier. So simple things. One thing per email. One action on a web page. Don't complicate things. Clear calls to action. Take the pain away. And here's another great test. Your proposition you're currently offering to the marketplace right now, whether it be in your business or your department or you as an individual, run that past an 11-year-old. Explain to them what you do and see if they understand it. See if they can repeat it back, because it's the best test you'll ever find for simplicity. Here's my next point. Don't be evil. And I think this kind of sums up so many of the points. And this is about loyalty. This is about creating loyalty with your customers. All of these things are. But this is obviously Google, and their stated aim of not being evil, I think, is a great thing to shout out loud. Yet so many times you see companies trying to be a little bit tricksy. So here's the thing. You want to keep your customers. Make sure you take them off the unsubscribe list when they ask. Make sure you refund people without question if there's a problem with a credit card transaction or they don't want the product or the service. It's not quite right for them. Make sure you grandfather people into existing pricing schemes. Don't annoy people. Just do the right thing. And you know what? Even in the news this week, just to date this presentation, in September 2015, the Volkswagen Group, to try to pull the wool over people's eyes by faking the tests is going to cripple that business. They will be in real trouble for months and months to come. So just do the right thing. Now that's quite a negative thing for me to say, so I'm going to just turn that around a little bit and shout out to one of the customers we've been working with over the years. We work with a lot of cleaning businesses across the world, and why not look around your business and see if there's something great you can do as well, because customers love to be involved. They love to have those shared values as well. And the Cleaning for a Reason team are absolutely wonderful. They send out or donate time effectively to help people suffering with cancer to clean their houses and generally make their day brighter. And there are a lot of wonderful things going on in the corporate environment, but just take a look. When you finish listening to this, what could you do to go ahead and stop being evil, but more importantly, be positive and go do the right things for people? Because customers will love that. They will also get involved as well. Okay, so I've got 4 more topics to go. This next one is be memorable. I'm sure you would have heard of or perhaps read Seth Godin's Purple Cow, which of course is the whole theme for this book is about how you stand out as a business and as an organization. But for me, keeping customers, it's also about standing out as individuals as well, because a company is made up of individuals. So often people talk about the company. It's just a thing. It's a collection of people, and what makes that company are the people within it and the actions they take and what they do. You may have come across an organization called Y Combinator, who are probably the most well-known incubator in the world. Twice a year they take batches of startups and take them through their organization, and at the end they are both educated and hopefully funded as well, with some amazing names behind them, as you see on screen right now. The founder of that organization, Paul Graham, wrote quite a famous essay now a good few years back called Do Things That Don't Scale, which is a fascinating thing to me, because everything you're taught, certainly in the software as a service industry, is all about turning the handle, reproducing processes, and the earning money while you sleep concept. So that in theory, you don't even have to talk to customers, which, for the record, we just don't agree with that concept. But the idea of doing things that don't scale really fascinates me. So what does he mean by that? He means going to hustle for customers, but he also means, as part of keeping those customers as well, is doing the nice things. So as an example, when was the last time you actually sent a thank you note, a handwritten thank you note to a customer, or clipped out a newspaper or magazine clipping, or you just emailed this, the electronic version? When was the last time you did that? Something I've done recently, as a recent example, with somebody I met, a very well-known businessman, and I wanted to thank him for his time. So I mocked up a customer thermometer, email, put it on a card, handwritten note inside, and he was incredibly grateful. It's not something that people generally do. Here's another great example of just going the extra mile, which happened to me back in December when I was in Dubai. The Oberoi Hotel is a wonderful place, which I can thoroughly recommend. And I'd nearly run out of deodorant. And I came back to my room after working one day, and this particular letter was in the room. And of course, Dubai is not a place, even in December, you want to run out of deodorant. So very kindly, they decided to go out and get me some. They went the extra mile. They were memorable. Hey, I'm talking about it right now. I'm spreading the word. I just referred the Oberoi Hotel to a whole bunch of people. So do those things that don't scale. Figure out ways of standing out from the crowd. That is another great way to keep your customers. The last 3 points I want to make are, I guess they're kind of centered around customer thermometer to a certain extent. And the first one is encouraging customer complaints. Going back to make a customer not a sale earlier, I had a wonderful conversation with one of our customers fairly recently. He said to me, "Mark, I love the service." He said, "But," and I hesitated, he said, "I just wish we got more negative feedback." Now, we talked about this for a while. It was an interesting concept, and he loves getting the gold stars, but actually you learn more by getting the bad stuff through. So encouraging customer complaints is a really important one. And there's two elements to this. First of all, it's all about the mechanism, and secondly, it's about how you follow up with those complaints as well. That is just as important. I want to give you an example here. Imagine you're in a restaurant, you've just been your meal's just been brought to you at the table, and it's pretty average. It's nothing special. It's okay. It might be a bit cold, whatever it may be. Now, being British, and I know I'm talking to an audience around the world right now, but if certainly in a British environment, we're not very good at complaining. And typically what might happen is the waiter will come over, as they do after 3 or 4 minutes, say, "Oh, hi, is everything okay with your food?" And the diner in a British way would go, "Oh, sorry, yes, no, it's fine, thank you," and hope the waiter goes away quickly. Why? Because we don't want to make a fuss. We've got a team, friends or business colleagues around you. You don't want to be making a fuss and sending the meal back. It's not that bad, but at the end of the day, you're not particularly happy. What you then do is you go home and you get on TripAdvisor or something equivalent, and you'd have a little bit of a rant. You certainly wouldn't be giving them the good rating. So here we have a situation where the feedback mechanism is probably not right because it's just too personal. People aren't willing to complain at certain points in the process, and they're not willing to complain in certain ways as well. Customer thermometer brings in that sort of thin veil of anonymity, and by allowing people to click a rating away from individuals, it allows people to be more honest. And I've had other interesting conversations with people who, even in our Outlook signatures, sometimes because it's too personal, people are feeling they're not getting accurate feedback using Outlook signatures, and they've changed, depending on the situation, they've changed to email thermometers, and because it's not tied specifically to an individual who they don't want to offend, you get a more accurate picture, which is quite interesting. So coming full circle back to my original example at the beginning of this presentation, when I got that alert through from an unhappy customer, the mechanism was right. It was suitably anonymous. But most importantly, that feedback mechanism, the response mechanism was right too. I was able to pick up the phone and deal with the problem. So in that restaurant example, the concept of sending an email to that diner as they're leaving the restaurant is a great way of finding out how they're feeling. And that applies to events and conferences or whatever it may be, but it's all about the timing, but then being able to follow up with people quickly. Because what it will do, it will stop people from venting on social media. It's like a private feedback network using this type of system. But whatever you're doing, customer thermometer regardless, encouraging customer complaints is so important. And you'll see at the end of this presentation links to an ebook we've written and a couple of other people as well to explain that concept in more detail. My penultimate point is all about incentivizing your teams to really care. And this is so important. Going back to my Waitrose example of creating that partnership where everybody has some skin in the game, really, in terms of pay packets and how there's a direct correlation between how the business is performing and what they take home every month. And that's what this is all about. And unless you're all pulling together in the same direction, unless the people on the front line genuinely care and are incentivized to care as well, there's always going to be a mismatch between what your customers perceive of your organization. And I've got a couple of great examples here. Well, certainly this first one, I'd like to thank some of our cleaning customers who sent in these pictures. But this is a great way of incentivizing staff. Their bonuses are based on the number of gold stars that they get. And people are creating league tables. And when we started Customer Thermometer, we were actually a little bit concerned as to what people might think about being rated, whether it be a call center agent or a cleaner or an employee, or it doesn't matter what that person is doing, what their role is, how would they feel about being rated? And actually, the response has been incredibly positive. And as you see here, we've got examples of wall charts where people come in the morning and see how they are being rated by their customers. And if you take a look at this this short video, just for a couple of minutes, you'll see one of our other customers explaining just how incentivizing their teams to pull together has really made a massive impact on their business.
So essentially then, 70% of all the installations that we do, we send a very simple customer thermometer to everyone we install for. 70% of them respond, and they rank our business from gold, green, amber or red. But what we've done is attributed a score to those different thresholds, and we've hooked in our installers to call it a bonus scheme if you like, but certainly a mechanism within their remuneration which is directly linked to the feedback that they get from their clients. The first thing we did was we made the email alerts available to everyone in the firm. So as soon as a customer responds via customer thermometer now, absolutely everybody in the company gets a ping. All the installers out there on site get a ping. And that had an effect of drawing people in, and people love to read the comments, all sorts of installers reading comments about other installers as well as themselves. But the biggest effect, as I say, that basically about 10% of the installer's salary can be won or lost through the result of this feedback. And what I was doing through a series of sort of review sessions with the installers was directly comparing the teams in terms of how many gold stars they got. And this became a really interesting sort of coaching procedure, really. And people were genuinely intrigued. Why is that guy getting twice the amount of gold stars that I'm getting? And just really cross-fertilising ideas between installation teams. And lo and behold, you see month on month the average score going up and also the incidence of gold stars going up, which might sound like a gimmick, but of course at the end of it, it's customers and it's homeowners that are saying they're delighted with the work.
Okay, so number 10, my final point, do not allow surprises. And really for me, this sums up what Customer Thermometer is all about. And this particular photo, very topical at the minute, again dated September 2015, when just a few days ago, the Japanese rugby team, having only won one match in the whole of the Rugby World Cup history, beat South Africa, twice winners. An amazing match. If you like your rugby, I'm sure you'll agree with me. But what a surprise. And to link some of this together, hearing back from Sir Clive Woodward, the previous England coach, about the preparation that he put into place for what happens when certain situations arise. Clearly in that particular instance, the South Africans weren't in the same frame of mind as perhaps he would have coached. Now this is the same in business. And the key to ensuring your customers do not leave you is to know what they're thinking. It's to know what's really important to them, what really matters. Not what you think, but actually what they tell you. Because what you think about your customers, I can absolutely assure you, is different to what they're really thinking. The annual survey, the annual customer satisfaction survey, especially the ones with 50 questions, is simply not enough. Should someone ever bother to fill such a thing in the following day when an issue happens, you don't poll them again for 364 days. Can't be right. But the idea of that regular pulse, particularly in the service industry, to find out how your customers are genuinely feeling and not secondhand through an account manager, is an incredibly valuable thing. So do feedback the right way. Find out what really matters to people. Even if you don't use customer thermometer, get the right mechanism in place and talk to your customers so that surprises don't happen. Come back to that 68% of customers leaving you because you feel indifferent about them. Okay, don't allow that to happen. Keep communicating, keep talking, keep staying one step ahead and finding out what they are really, really thinking. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. I'm going to leave you with a final quote. With a picture that I actually took myself and I'm very proud of, from a guy called Jake Poore, who used to head up service recovery at Disney. And I think this is very, very true. I want to leave you with that thought. You'll also find on the final end slide in a moment a link to all of the assets and elements that I've talked about during this last few minutes. I hope you found it useful. If you have, share it with colleagues. And if you haven't, please tell me. Drop me a line and you'll see my email address on that end screen as well. Thanks for listening.